Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Today we're going to take a look at a Tillotson HS-26A carburetor from an XL-800 AM. Homelite, of course. Steven reached out to me, probably right before I went on vacation, I think. Anyway, he had asked me if I needed any of the parts, if I could use them, and I had initially replied no, and I think he came back and said, oh, what about the carburetor? And I went, okay, yeah, I am being lazy, yes. So he ended up donating that. So, Steve, thank you. Very much appreciate that donation. It arrived in the mail sometime this past week, I think. Sometime this past week. That's as far as I'll go with it. Let's dive into this and do a rebuild on it. So this carb would have been used on the XL-700, the 700 AM, or 701 and 701 AM. Those were international versions of the 700. You got the XL-800, the 850, and the 870. So there's plenty of these carbs still floating around out there that guys might be working on. And they're not too bad. Not too bad at all. We're going to take the fuel pump side off first and see what's hidden behind door number 1. Well, that's tight. Wow. That gasket's holding good. Wow. I don't want to bung up the throttle. There she goes. Man, they're not normally that tight. Okay. And ironically, probably not bad. The gasket itself is stiff, but those flappers probably still would have operated. Tiniest little bit of residual in that filter screen right there, and that's just a blind hole, so that's why you end up sometimes with fuel residue in these. That's one of the alignment pins on the cover. It goes down in there. So fuel and oil has a way of working its way in there over time. Alright, nothing super extraordinarily so different so far. And this is very simple. You got your fuel inlet. You end up with the one check valve as part of the pump, and you got the screen before it makes its way up to the inlet needle. This side of the carb is super simple. Not that this side is super not simple, because it is. If I am remembering correctly, these do not have any sort of governor in them at all, so they are a fully adjustable carburetor. A lot of guys have speculated about, well, can I adapt that to fit my 925? Because, of course, all the 925 carbs were governed in some way. And the answer is, I don't know. In terms of fitting under the hood, so to speak, yes. But the Homelite changed the screw spacing, the screw size, and the grommet size. So if you were going to try and do that, I think you would have to screw around and customize your grommet. And maybe use one from the early saw. And maybe end up having to silicone around it. I'm not sure. If somebody's done it, and you can speak to that, why don't you throw something in the chat, or in the comments, because, yeah, I haven't done it. Alright. Now, there's where it falls down. That side is crunchy. That would not have operated. But look what we've got under here. Nothing. This is simple. So on the 925 carburetors, the high speed is going to be a bronze or brass fitting right here, and there's going to be a hole right in the top of it. And that essentially is your prevention from being able to tune it too lean, because no matter how far you screw the high speed screw in, whatever the size of that hole is, it's still going to flow that much fuel at full throttle. So again, good for preventing a burn up, bad if you actually know how to tune your saw, run it correctly, and not risk burning it up, because you can't necessarily get the max out of it. Okay, that's it. That is all there is to one of these carburetors, folks. Right there. So, we'll just pull out a kit, and we'll kit this thing up real quick. The HS series of carburetors has to be one of the simplest, easiest to work on that there is out there. So don't let them, if you need to do one, don't let it intimidate you. And I am not going to pull out the Welch plugs. There's no reason to. No reason whatsoever. This is clean enough that I am comfortable that fuel didn't dry up in here in any quantity. Alright, we're going to start by assembling this side like I like to do, so that we can assemble the other side under pressure and know if we have any leaks. Again, like all the others, setting the fuel screen in place, you just need something that has about the right outside diameter. Line it up with your carb in the pre-bent area and just, there she goes. Done. If you have to do that more than once or twice with the same screen, you're going to fight it, because the pre-bend in the screen is going to be distorted and it's going to fight you. Alright, I prefer the black gasket, diaphragm, excuse me, because it is the most what am I trying to say? It pumps fuel the best. It's the most flexible. Now, if you know you're running ethanol, even though I say don't do that, if you don't have a choice, the synthetic material is probably your better one right here. But that still doesn't make it a good choice. Alright, button this side up. Alright. Go ahead and use a new needle. I'm not going to replace the arm though. Although the bend on these aftermarket kits arms seems to be spot on. And I've talked about it before, I've done the review videos. These CTS kits are actually not bad. I've had really good luck with them. But I can still get Tillotson kits at a relatively reasonable price, so that's what I'm still selling on my website. It's not like Walbro where the cost just went completely bonkers. Okay. So again, when you take your first stab at this, that needle height or arm height should just be just slightly, you can see my screwdriver's hitting it right there. It should just be slightly above the floor of the carburetor right there. If it's up here at deck height, you're going to have problems. That is going to end very much badly. Oh, let's see how that new needle is sealing in there. The seat looked really clean. Alright, is that a gasket leak? Yep. Okay. So that kind of a gasket leak, again, we can spray some gasket sealer on it, or we can just let nature take its course, and when it gets some fuel in there, it's going to swell. So that's the route I'm going to take. Let's go ahead and throw this diaphragm on. Make sure that my assessment of the arm height is correct. To me, it looks spot on. Ha, I didn't even release it. Nice. Okay, pushing down doesn't change it, but I have learned the hard way through experience that you actually need to screw the cover down all the way before spiking the football, so to speak. You'll note that this has the ability to be used with a screw-mounted idle, or a carburetor-mounted idle screw, but it's not used on, I don't think any of the models that I named off use it, and if they do, it's the early ones. So I'm looking at my 870 that I still need to work out on the floor here, and it has an external idle speed screw on it. So that earlier discussion about, hey, could I put it on a 925? Well, you'd have a way to control the idle. Alright, it's together. That's it, folks. That is all there is to one of these things. Very similar to almost every other HS that we've worked on a Homelite out there. So, what you guys didn't see me do was the external cleanup. There was the normal, concoction of grease and crap that had accumulated on it. Nothing terrible. But the old hose had melted. And by melted, I mean dissolved and done whatever that rubber does to the fitting here. So I actually had to chisel some of it off and then wire wheel the ever-living rat crap out of the fuel inlet barb there, so that, yeah, a hose will seal to this. So, there you go. Tillotson HS-26A in the books. Very easy to rebuild. If you have any questions, you guys know how to find me. We'll catch you on the next one.